Hey, I'm Lucy with Rossmönster Rentals, and today I want to tell you about some of the ins and outs of our modern 2.0 camper vans. Starting with some of the exterior good to knows of this vehicle. First things first, you have a flip down happy hour table. To bring this down, you're just going to take out this knob, lower it down, always store the knob back in its storage spot there. To put it up, you're just going to insert the cable and store it away as so. Also on the exterior of the vehicle, on the passenger side, we have our water fill. So you can monitor your tank from either inside the vehicle on the touchscreen or in the cabinet itself where the tank lives. You insert the silver H2O key into this port, open it up, fill it up with a hose, put the port back, and you're good to go. On the driver's side of your vehicle, you have your diesel fill up. So this is where you're going to fill up, diesel only for the Sprinter vans. Additionally, you have a shore power hookup here. So in order to plug up to shore power, whether you're at a friend's house or at an RV park, you're going to grab the yellow dongle in the passenger door, line up the notches with the receiver there, turn to the right to secure, and then plug your extension cord, which also lives in the door of the vehicle, in there. Turn your inverter on the inside touch panel. You always have to have the inverter on in order to charge from shore power, and then you should be charged up. Lastly, on the driver's side exterior of the vehicle, you'll notice the exhaust for the Aqua Hot. Sometimes you may see some exhaust coming out of that, so don't be alarmed if you see smoke. Also, just ensure that you keep this area clear and that hose doesn't ever get clogged with mud. Once you're in the vehicle, a few things to know about the vehicle itself. It takes diesel fuel, which means that you also may have to add DEF throughout your trip. So DEF gauge can be found on the vehicle display of the actual dashboard. It will show you when those levels get low. When your DEF levels get low, you can pick DEF up at a gas station. Truck stops have it on tap. You'll just go ahead and pop your hood and then fill it up at the hood. Once you have your hood propped so it's safe to be under the hood, you can fill up your DEF at the DEF only fill. You unscrew it, fill it up until it overfills, and then close it down. Always remove the prop before trying to lower the hood, and then lower it down. Some of our modern 2.0 Sprinters are equipped with an electronic parking brake. So if that's the case, it's going to be to the left of your steering wheel. Otherwise, you're going to have a folding parking brake. So to engage the parking brake, you're going to press the button in and pull it all the way up towards you, and you'll see an illuminated red icon with a P in your dashboard. Because these are folding parking brakes, which allows the chairs to swivel while the parking brake is still engaged, once it's engaged, you can simply press it down and it's still engaged. You can still see that icon on your dash. Always disengage the parking brake before you drive and ensure that you've done so by making sure that red icon is no longer illuminated on the dash. So to disengage the parking brake, you're going to pull it up as high as you possibly can, press that button in, and then send it all the way down. You'll see there's no parking brake icon on the dash. You're good to go. In order to swivel your front captain's chairs so that you can use them as a 4-person dinette, you're going to use the center pull and pull it towards yourself. That allows the seat to swivel. The lever on the outside allows you to move the chair forwards and backwards. The table for your dinette area is stored behind your fold-away bench seat. Whenever you're in transit, please bungee it back. But when you're ready to use it, you can just take it out. Whenever you're going to set up your table, you'll notice that your table leg is always going to be stored on your table top. So first you're going to want to remove that leg by loosening the levers and then pulling it up towards yourself. Your lagoon table mount is at the base of the passenger chair. You're going to slide it down the base and then again use that wrench, turn it all the way to the right, lock it into place. Then you're going to go ahead and grab your tabletop. See the knob of the table leg, line it up with the hole in the tabletop, put them together, and again, use those black levers to tighten it down. These levers works like a wrench, so when you pull them out, they disengage so that you don't actually have to be able to to rotate them 360 degrees. When you're ready to fold down your bus seat to use it, you're going to use the center lever, push it towards the bus seat, and then flip the entire unit down. From there, you'll use the larger outer level, pull it up, and that should allow you to pull the entire backrest up. And there you have your full 4-person dinette. When you're ready to take this bench seat back down, again, you're going to use that larger outside lever to release the backrest. And then you're going to use the smaller outside lever, pull it up, and that will allow you to pull the entire unit away. When you're ready to use your pop top, first you're going to grab your telescoping ladder out from its storage position. Always make sure you put it back there when you're done. You're going to unvelcro it. There are instructions on the ladder that you can follow, but in order to send this up, you're just going to go one notch at a time. Make sure you never have your fingers in between two notches because they can pinch you. Let's get it nice and tall. Once you have your ladder set up, you're going to go ahead and release both safety latches. So first, you'll release the latch with the black button. Then you'll do the larger silver latch by popping the handle up, turning it to the left to release. You'll see that it dangles free, and then repeat on the other side. Next, you're going to go ahead and push up the pop top. So the first 6 inches are going to be the hardest, then the gas struts take over, but it's still a job that is worth recruiting your tallest and strongest friend for. So make sure that your hands are on either side of the fan, never on the fan plate so that you don't break it, and then press up. And then those gas struts will take over. Always ensure that you take the pop top down before driving and also zip up all of the windows in the pop top prior to closing it down. When you're ready to close it down, you're just going to want to grab onto the handles on either side, pull down. As you pull, you just want to make sure that none of the canvas gets outside of the pop top, but also that the canvas folds underneath the pop top so that the latches really have enough to grab onto. Last step before you drive, always ensure that you latch your safety latches. So start with the silver handles, make sure they're engaged, turn to the right to tighten, and then flop down to secure. Then get the secondary latch, place it back in the buckle, hear that click, and repeat on the other side. Lastly, close down your ladder and store it away behind the bench seat. As you store it down, make sure that you always have your hands underneath the black part when you release a layer so that you don't ever pinch your fingers. When it comes to ventilation in the van, you have a max air fan above the living area. To turn this on, you just press the on button. To turn it off, you press the off button. It can either pull air out of the vehicle or suck air in, depending on what you want to do. Use the in out button for that. If your pop top is lifted and you can't reach it, use the remote control mounted behind the driver's seat. Lastly, for a bit of airflow, you have your T-vent window on the driver's side, as well as half slides in the rear, so you can get a nice cross breeze in here. Next, we're going to go through the power systems in your vehicle. So to start, you have this main control panel. This is where you're going to control most of the systems within the vehicle. Within this display, you have a few different display options. So your home display is going to show you a master on-off light switch. It's going to show your freshwater tank, your gray water tank, where your sink is going to drain to, as well as your inverter. So freshwater tank, that is only going to be in 25% increments, so just be aware of that. You can also always check the translucent tank if that's easier in the rear of the van. Inverter. You want to have your inverter on whenever you're trying to charge from shore power and whenever you're trying to use your outlets or your induction cooktop, because your induction cooktop is plugged into your outlets. An icon is on when it glows blue. It is off when it is gray. Next, you have your light bulb icon. So that is going to take you to your lighting zones. We have our dome lights, toe kicks, up lighting, under cabinet, and above cabinet. Your up lighting is actually going to be the lighting unit for your pop top camper. Next, we have the flower icon, which we also call the aux icon. This is where you're going to turn your fridge on, your water pump, and your inverter. So inverter has 2 screens. Fridge you can leave on for most of your trips. Solar usually offsets your fridge use. Water pump you want to have on whenever you want to pull water to your sink. So when you're done using the sink, you'll just turn it back off. An inverter, as I mentioned, needs to be on in order to use your outlets, your induction cooktop, or to charge from shore power. Lastly, we have our systems display. You shouldn't really need to use this ever, but if you're ever troubleshooting with the Rossmönster service team via email, we might send you here to help us diagnose the problem. Next, we're going to move all the way over to our Victron Bluetooth battery monitor. So this screen is going to tell us how much our batteries are charged at any given time, as well as the draws on those batteries and the inputs coming into them. Best practice is to keep this screen at our percentage, so that's showing us our battery percentage, but you can use the plus and minus to see different displays that are all laid out in your touch stay guide. So we can see voltage, we actually have some coming in right now, you can see amps, watts, so on and so forth. I'm going to take us back to percentage. You always want to keep your batteries above 50% in this vehicle. Letting them drop below that can cause system failure and also costly damage to the batteries themselves. So there are 3 ways that you can charge your battery. First is solar. Solar should always be trickle charging. You don't have to turn anything on. It will just be in a constant state of charge when the sun is out and when your solar panels are exposed to the sun. Next is charging via the vehicle's alternator. So whenever you have the vehicle on, it will be charging your house batteries. You can do this when you're idling, but it's a bit more efficient when you're actually driving. Lastly is shore power, which we talked about. You have your shore power hookup on the exterior of the vehicle. Plug that dongle in, hook up to a wall outlet, and also turn the inverter on to ensure that you're pulling power to the vehicle. So that's your 3 ways of recharging. Lastly, I'm going to talk about your Aqua Hot Heat and hot water system. So that's your center display panel here. First things first, you need to turn your power source on when you want to use this. It takes about 20 minutes to heat up the system. So you're going to either choose burner if you want to utilize the vehicle's diesel to power this system, or electric if you happen to be plugged up to shore power. So if you're using burner, which I assume most people will be, if you're not hooked up to shore power, your diesel is going to be powering the system. And if ever your diesel tank drops below 1/4 of a tank, the system will cut itself off. Once you've preheated the system for 20 minutes, you will automatically have hot water when you pull water to that system, whether it be your sink or your exterior shower. If you want to pull heat to the cab of the vehicle, you need to use your front and rear thermostats. So to use your front thermostat, you have to click into it. You have to toggle over to on. So when it's on, it's blue. When it's off, it is going to be gray. And then you need to use the up and down arrows to set your desired temp and ensure that the desired temp is higher than the current temp. Otherwise, obviously, the system will not click on, and then hit set. Do the same for your rear heater if you so desire. Press set, and then your system will be set. Lastly, you have the option to use low, high, or auto. We recommend auto just to keep the cabin at a temperature that feels comfortable for you. If you're ever traveling in any sort of inclement weather where there's any potential for the temperature dropping below 30 degrees, it is your responsibility as a renter to winterize this vehicle. What that means is opening your dump valve so that your exterior gray water tank does not freeze and water is draining directly out of the vehicle. And you also need to set your Aqua Hot to at least 50 degrees for the front and rear of the vehicle, and keep that on auto at all times so that nothing in here is going to freeze and all of your plumbing stays intact. Next, we'll go through the galley of your vehicle. So starting on the passenger side, we have our induction cooktop. As a reminder, you need to have the inverter on in order to power the system because it is plugged directly into an outlet. If you're ever having problems with your induction cooktop, first make sure that your inverter is on, and second, make sure that it's plugged in, because sometimes bumpy roads can cause the outlet to come out of its socket. So it is always going to be plugged in underneath the sink. These guys only work with ferromagnetic cookware. Everything we send you out is ferromagnetic. So it also only works if the cookware is actually on the unit. So once you have a pot or pan on there, you're going to press the power button, and then you can either use the flame or the thermometer to use heat or temp to dictate the level of draw for your induction cooktop. So heat is preset to start at 5, and it's 5 out of 10. And temp is going to start at some temperature, and you can pick exactly what temperature you want to use. Please note that your induction cooktop is a really large power draw, so when you're cooking, just be aware of your battery percentage. Moving back from there, we have our Ruvati sink. So only thing you need to know about the sink is that in order to use it, you need to go to your main control panel, turn on the water pump, and then you'll be able to use the sink. So that you know, the water from your sink drains directly into a gray water tank that is mounted to the exterior of the vehicle. We will always send you out with your gray water tank dump valve open. So that means that you're going to be dumping directly to the floor. That in most cases is fine. We send you out with biodegradable hand and dish soap. However, if you ever go to a state or a national park, you are going to need to close that dump valve. It's a 7-gallon gray water tank. You can monitor your levels on that touch screen, but you just need to be aware of your usage and then open up that valve when you are no longer in a state park to dump out that water. Let's check out that dump valve. So the dump valve is located at the sliding door. When you want to close it, you're going to grab the T handle and press it towards the center of the van. When you want to open it back up, you just grab it and pull it towards yourself. Lastly, we have your isotherm fridge and freezer over here on the driver's side. It is a drawer style, so it just slides out. And then you also have the freezer up top there. Additionally, above the bed, you have two reading lights. A really cool feature of these lights is that underneath them, you have a USB charger. So that's a good place to charge your cell phone at night because you don't have to have the inverter on in order to use that charger versus all of the wall outlets. You do have to have the inverter on. If you want to take an outdoor shower when you're out on the road, you'll notice that we have these little storage pockets in the rear doors of the vehicles. That's where your hose is going to be stored. Always store it in two parts so that you can fully drain it. When you are ready to shower, you will just reattach your nozzle to the hose, open up the shower receiver, line up the notches of the hose with the receiver, and then turn just this base part to the right to secure. And then you need to ensure that you have your water pump turned on at the main control panel, so that icon needs to be glowing blue. And then you'll use your hot and cold knobs to turn that shower on. To close out plumbing within this vehicle, you'll notice that you have your 20-gallon freshwater tank in the rear of the vehicle on the passenger side. So that is a translucent water tank. You can always check your water levels there as well as on that main control panel. This is also where your Aqua Hot is going to be housed. So if ever you're troubleshooting with the Rossmönster service team, that's likely where they are going to send you. Moving over to the driver's side, we have our power cabinet. So you should never really have to do anything in here, but a few things that I'll point out if you run into issues on the road. First things first, you have your breaker box. So if ever a breaker trips, this is where you will come to reset it. That will largely be if your outlets are faulting, aka your induction cooktop, but also the outlets, or if your Aqua Hot is having any issues. If ever one of these outlets trips and you need to pop it back in to reset it, you're just going to open up the transparent door. You'll see that one breaker is popping out more than the others. Press it back in, wait 15 seconds, and it will reset. Additionally, in the power cabinet, you have some fuse boxes. So this is where a lot of your smaller systems are going to have their fuse housed. So this is going to be for all of your lights, your fan, your water pump. If ever those systems aren't working and you've gone through other troubleshooting steps, we may have you replace a fuse, and this is where you would do that. Lastly, safety features of the vehicle. As we mentioned before, the vehicle's manual is going to be above the passenger side seat. In this little compartment, you have your jack, and then the spare tire is always going to be underneath the vehicle. We make sure that every renter has AAA or some sort of roadside assistance policy before you head out. We really recommend just utilizing that if ever you get a flat tire or something like that. Additionally, inside the vehicle, you'll see that we have a smoke detector up top. You have your fire extinguisher, and that just about rounds out your safety equipment. Before you hit the road, it's always best practice to ensure that everyone going with you has watched this video. Download the digital guide to your home screen of your phone so you can reference it while you're out on the road. And if you can't solve a problem while you're out on the road and need to get in touch with your service team from Rossmönster, just be sure to follow the instructions within that guide on how to get a hold of us.